One signature. That's all it takes for the rules of your life to change overnight. No vote, no debate. Nobody you elected sitting in that room. Just a president, a pen, and a piece of paper called an executive order. That single document can move your tax bill, your grocery bill, and your rights, all before you've even finished your morning coffee. If one person can rewrite policy with a signature, why exactly are we electing an entire Congress? Stick with me, because this isn't about one president or one party. It's a machine both sides have built together, and it's about to get a lot bigger. Let's make this personal, because it is. Your wallet, your freedom, and your daily life are all riding on this. Executive orders have redirected federal spending and slapped tariffs on imports overnight, with 0 vote required. The average U.S. tariff rate climbed to nearly 17% this past year, the highest level since the early 1930s. And research shows almost 90% of that cost landed on American businesses and consumers like you and I, not on foreign governments. The Tax Foundation estimated tariffs added roughly $1,000 to household costs in 2025, climbing towards $1,300 in 2026. You felt that at the register. I felt it buying groceries for my own family. And it's your freedom too. Immigration enforcement, platform speech rules, gun policy, all shaped by decree, not debate, and all capable of changing direction entirely based on who wins one single election. And it's your daily life. Because families and small business owners plan their futures around policies that can flip the second a new administration takes office. A shop owner ordering inventory has no idea what the tariff will be in 90 days. A young family budgeting for a home has no idea what the loan rules will look like next year. A veteran or retiree relying on a federal program has no idea if the rule they depend on survives the next signature. There's no floor under you. You're building your life on sand somebody else keeps rearranging, and you never cast a vote on any of it. To be fair, the logic behind executive orders isn't completely out there. Presidents have used them since George Washington. Article 2's Take Care Clause gives the president authority to manage the branch he already runs. The most compelling argument for this is very simple. When Congress is gridlocked and a hurricane's bearing down, a bank's collapsing, or a pandemic spreading, you cannot wait on 535 people to reach an agreement. That's not leadership, that's paralysis. Legal scholars call this the unitary executive theory, and it is a legitimate constitutional argument, not a fringe one. Even the framers understood that a functioning executive branch needs some room to act fast, which is why disaster declarations and emergency response orders rarely draw much objection from anyone, on either side. However, what they aren't telling you is that this logic only holds up when executive orders manage existing law, not when they're used to write brand new law nobody voted on. That distinction used to matter. Now the line has been crossed so many times, it's basically invisible. Let's look at the actual record here, because the pattern is bigger than any one president. In 1942, FDR signed Executive Order 9066, authorizing the internment of over 100,000 Japanese Americans. No trial, no Congress, just a signature. And it stands as one of the darkest abuses of executive power in American history. In 1952, Truman tried to seize a nation's steel mills by executive order during the Korean War. The Supreme Court shut him down in Youngstown Sheet and Tube Co. v. Sawyer, ruling flatly that a president cannot legislate simply because he believes it's urgent. In 2012, Obama created DACA through executive action after immigration reform died in Congress. In 2022, Biden tried to cancel hundreds of billions of dollars in student debt by executive order. The Supreme Court struck that down too in Biden v. Nebraska. This year, the administration used the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to declare national emergencies over drug trafficking and trade deficits, then imposed sweeping tariffs on nearly every country on Earth, entirely by executive order, not by Congress. On February 20th, 2026, the Supreme Court struck it down, 6-3, in Learning Resources, Inc. v. Trump. Chief Justice Roberts wrote that the power to tax through tariffs belongs to Congress alone, and that the framers deliberately kept that power out of the president's hands. Within hours, the administration pivoted to a different law, Section 122 of the Trade Act, and imposed a new tariff anyway. And here's the part that proves this is a pattern, not an accident. In May of 2026, the Court of International Trade ruled against those replacement tariffs too, finding the administration stretched the statute past what Congress already authorized. Two separate courts, two separate laws, the same conclusion twice in 1 year. According to the Federal Register, Trump has now signed 268 executive orders in this term alone. Compare that to Biden's 162 across 4 full years, and Trump's own first term total of 220. Obama signed 277, Bush signed 291, Clinton signed 364. Go back even further, and FDR still holds that individual record, having signed more executive orders than any other president before or since. This is not a one-party habit, and it never has been. It's what happens every single time gridlock makes unilateral action politically rewarding for whoever holds office. Neither party wants to give that power back, and untangling why has nothing to do with picking a team. The Constitution doesn't get vague between 1952 and 2026. Congress just got comfortable letting someone else do its job. Here's the truth neither party will say out loud. Every unchecked executive order sets a precedent for the next person to go even further, regardless of the party. That precedent doesn't come with an expiration date when your side loses an election. Hit subscribe right now, because understanding that one idea changes how you'll watch every single headline from here on out. This isn't Republicans versus Democrats. It's the individual person versus the administrative state. Overnight tariffs by decree aren't protecting American jobs. They're crony capitalism, distorting prices and rewarding political connections over merit and voluntary exchange. Loan forgiveness, internment, immigration policy shifting by signature isn't compassion or security. It's centralized power making decisions about your life that you never consented to. This country was built on decentralized, limited power, on the idea that no single office, no matter how well-intentioned the person holding it, should never hold this much unchecked authority over your money, your property, or your freedom. It doesn't matter whose hand is on that pen. Power that isn't checked will always expand, and it never expands slowly towards more liberty, only towards more control. So what happens next? You don't have to guess, because part of it is already on the calendar. Those Section 122 tariffs are legally required to expire on July 24th, exactly 150 days after they took effect, unless Congress votes to extend them, which almost nobody in Washington expects to happen. Watch that date. It'll tell you everything about whether this administration reaches for yet another statute to keep the tariffs alive by decree, or finally lets Congress do its job. Beyond that single date, expect the broader pattern to continue. Expect the Supreme Court and lower courts to keep becoming the real policymakers on fights that should have been settled by the people you actually elected. Which means unelected judges, not your senator, end up deciding how much you pay at the store. And watch for the domino effect. If trade policy can run on emergency powers today, that same emergency logic gets stretched into banking, energy, and even digital assets tomorrow. If Congress lets one branch tax by decree once, there is no clean argument for why it can't happen again somewhere else, under a different emergency, with a different excuse. This isn't a 6-month story. It's a slow burn shift that's been building for 90 years, and by every measure, it's speeding up. Tell me in the comments which one of these worries you most, because I genuinely read every single one. Here's the part that matters. This isn't hopeless. The Constitution puts real leverage back in your hands if you actually use it. Find out how your own representative votes on oversight and sunset clauses for emergency powers. Call their office directly. Ask one simple question. Will they vote to claw back the power Congress has quietly handed away? One call feels really small, I know. A few thousand of them changes the votes, though. That's exactly how this system was built to work in the first place. And it still works, if enough people actually show up and use it. Share this video with one person who you know still thinks executive orders are just paperwork. They need these receipts too. And this channel only grows when people like you pass it on. And if you're still here, still listening, still asking questions instead of swallowing the talking points, subscribe. Because next week, I'm laying out exactly which emergency power is coming for your bank account next. And you don't want to find out secondhand. The Constitution never failed you. The people sworn to protect it just found it inconvenient. One convenient signature at a time.